Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Mando, Money Making Mando on IG. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Deli, where we cut through all the noise and deliver actionable insight straight to you and make the information the star. And today, coincidentally, we have a star here as well. Welcome to the podcast show, Birdie Nicksic. Thank you for appearing with us.
Thank you, Mando. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
I love to have you here. We've connected a little bit on the back end just to get to know each other as well. And I've been very intentional in highlighting lately the women in real estate. This sector can be so male dominant, and sometimes we forget the women in the space who are doing things as well. So I've just made it a point of emphasis for me to always highlight the women in the space. And I just love hearing a women's perspective. I'm a guy. When I need to be hear about other guys all the time, that's not kind of my thing like that. So and I just like a woman's perspective as well, and how a woman navigates through the course, in this sector. And again, it's always a learning experience. So again, Birdie, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Birdie. So yeah, Birdie, let's get into it. Let's see, where are you located at?
So I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I see a nice little cute sign behind you. It says the Birdhouse Podcast. I love that. Guys, be mindful. She has her own podcast, the Birdhouse Podcast. Stay tuned for those episodes coming soon.
Yes, coming soon. Not yet.
Coming soon. I just wanted to highlight that as well. I see it right behind you. I said, let's pay some attention to that. Thank you. Birdie, you're in South Carolina. Obviously, you're in the real estate space. Can you tell us some of the things that's going on, some of your successes, let's say, what you feel good about, what's going on?
Yeah. So I have been doing a lot of things.
Okay.
And that's kind of how my husband and I roll. We throw spaghetti against the wall. And, I like using those food analogies. I know how much you like to cook. So we started actually with pre-foreclosures and door knocking, which was an interesting journey. My husband's really, really good belly to belly, and we found a lot of success in that, but it's really hard to scale that. So we've done some various things. Obviously, we're building out a team. So we've got now an underwriter, dispo, closer, a lead gen person, and we've been kind of just looking through the lens more of opportunity. So we don't necessarily focus on one thing, but we analyze a property, underwrite it, and decide whether or not it's a buy and hold scenario or a fix and flip, or we don't wholesale in South Carolina because that's not legal anymore. So it's a dirty word. And so we will decide whether or not we're going to keep a property. And if not, we try to find a buyer or we just pass on it. So our goal is obviously to build out our portfolio. My strength coming into this creative real estate world was fixing and flipping. I had a design business in Los Angeles where I was also an actress. Acting was my main hustle, and my side hustle was design. So I started a design company, and I had that for 11 years, worked on multi-million-dollar houses, and ran a lot of jobs, did some commercial spaces, and just really loved it. That creative part of me needed an outlet because as an actor, you don't always work. So I had to find something else because I wasn't busy enough with three kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm, torturing myself. But so I started the design company. It was really successful, and it was word of mouth only because I wanted to know who I was being referred to by friends and clients. And that way I knew, A, they would know that I was an actress. B, it kind of got me through the filtering process early. I didn't have a website. I did not want to advertise. It was just word of mouth. I wanted to pick and choose who I wanted to work with and have it be just enough to keep me busy and not overwhelm me. So then fast forward, we moved to Charleston, and We both kind of felt like this is like chapter 2 of David and Bridget. That's my acting name, by the way. Bridget is it's my birth name and my acting name. But my nickname is Birdie, and that was always my design company name. So it was chapter 2 when we got here. And we decided about 1.5 years, 2 years ago to jump into real estate and start investing and trying to find ways to grow a portfolio as quickly as possible. And we came into this amazing community of sub 2 and started developing relationships with people and talking about it more and more and taking action, imperfect action, as they say.
Yep.
And we have lots of plates in the air. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know you touched on the pre-foreclosures, and then you went on to say to building a team, right? So
Yes.
I like to get into that with some of the newbies and some people who are looking to build a team and they just don't know where to start, right? They feel like they're growing their business, but how do I source this out? So kind of go through the most, because you said you had an underwriter as well in your team. So you just delve in a little bit and how you're able to source people. Do you know some people with referrals or
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we started, it was just David and myself. And then we met someone locally that was also very new. And we thought, okay, this is a good setup. She's an integrator type. And so we partnered up, and that relationship was short-lived for various reasons. We just decided this wasn't a good fit. And I think you have to be open when you're starting out to go through those relationships. It's just like dating, right? So you're not going to always be a good fit. And so that ended. And then we really were solo, meaning my husband and I together, solo doing our thing. And just from jumping on Zooms, getting on phone calls, going to meetups, especially sub 2 hosted events, we just started talking with and meeting people getting to know us. And there were a decent amount of people here in Charleston, and we hooked up with a couple people, and now we've got one of our partners is an underwriter, and he's been in sub 2 for almost, I think it's been 3 years, over 3 years. So he had more experience than we did. So he's really good at underwriting, and also very tied into the Latino community, which is a huge help. And then we met someone else in sub 2 in Colombia, and she was a really good fit, and she's a great closer. And then we, through these different, I guess I want to call them programs that Pace does, where he brings in newbies and he tries to get the people in sub 2 that have been in for a while to kind of guide through Elephant Challenge or No One Left Behind, or the 18-minute challenge at the beginning of the year. So we started helping others. And then this girl came onto our team who's a really good closer. And that's kind of how we created it. And then we had a new person start to make phone calls and learn how to talk to sellers and agents. So you just have to take action. Like I said before, you have to take imperfect action. And
yeah, it sounds like good old fashion outreach and networking, right? So it's kind of right, just being out there, kind of express what your needs are in your community, wherever you are in your local real, wherever you have community that's in the real estate sector, and just again, just seek someone that this needs, whatever, and that will be connected, right? Trust the universe to align you, and just wait and see what happens, right?
yeah, no magic bullet.
Yeah, I hear that. I love that. I would like to know how you have a passion, design passion, right? Kind of your outlet, and how have you integrated that into your business now?
That's a really good question. So I was really trying to figure out a way to bring value to this community. I feel like there's so many people from a myriad of backgrounds that have come into this community. You meet people, and they're just people that are giving of their talents. And I was really trying to dig deep in regards to what do I bring that is valuable in the real estate space. And I don't know why it took me so long. It really did. It took me like a year to figure out, oh my gosh, or actually more than a year. I have this great design background, and there are a lot of people here that do fix and flips, or that at least remodel a buy and hold or multifamily or value add to something, right? And they may not feel 100% sure about what they're doing and where they're spending their money. So it was just a light bulb went off at the retreat we had for Owners Club in Scottsdale, and I started talking to people about, and people naturally, once you get to know them, they're asking me questions like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And I just realized, there's a real value here that I can bring and help guide them. So that's when I came up with the Flyby, which is a program that I launched within Owners Club. Essentially, it's a truncated version of hiring an interior designer. So usually that can be a costly thing. And knowing as investors, we're always worried about the numbers, not worried, but the numbers matter. And so you never want to break the budget, right? And your investors don't want you to either, nor your lenders. So I decided to create this program where I fly to the property if it's not close by, and I tour the property, walk the property with the client and the contractor or the builder, and talk through the different ideations that they have. And then I do design boards for all of the spaces. Okay. And we talk through that. I help them with sourcing. And then I come home and I'm there sort of to support them with phone calls or text messages. And then I basically fly back, when they're almost finished, and sort of go through all of the punch list items and things that might need tweaking. And I just ask that they do some filming, pictures, whatever, so that I can have some content. And everyone wins, because the end result is, for the buyer or the renter or whatever, is a much more dialed in, desirable product. The lender feels a little bit better about the fact that there was someone with training wheels on the job, running the job, or not, I wasn't running the job, but running sort of the boards, right? The vision, driving the vision. And then the fix and flipper or the person who's buying and holding or whatever feels a little bit more confident, and they learn through the process, right? So if, for instance, if you were a fix and flipper on a $350,000 house, or you had done a number of homes in that $350,000 to $500,000 range, and then all of a sudden you're moving into the $700,000-$800,000 range, there is a difference. Your market is your target is different. The neighborhood is different. The resources are different, and the expectation is different from the buyer. So, and the budget will be different, obviously. So those things matter. And I think it's important to diminish the error, and the most expensive thing you can do is to do something twice, as we know. Mm-hmm. So
I love that, because your experience kind of makes you the authority, right? So you bring in a lot of value into that space, kind of something that people might not think about, especially fix and flippers. They so standardized, everything's the same, right? Across the board, the paint, the colors, the schemes, the locks, the handles, right? So it kind of gets monotonous sometimes, but you bring a taste palette that, it becomes super valuable, right? And especially coming from a woman's perspective, right? Usually when, let's say, prospective buyers come, you think as a couple, the lady's going to look at the bathroom, the kitchens, whatever it is, and she's going to fall in love with the house and be like, honey, I love it, right? So you have that perspective as well to kind of design it, have you have a vision. Obviously you have a vision,
Right.
a target, you kind of set a target, and then you implement your style, right? So again, that's awesome that you have that perspective in that space, and you kind of created something out of nothing for yourself.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And that's my, it fills my bucket. It's super exciting. I love creating. And I absolutely love standing in a pile of rubble and knowing that I'm going to create something beautiful out of it. And I love it when people trust me to work that magic. And I also love it when they follow directions.
That's the best part, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you got to guide them and be a little mindful, and just say, hey guys, 1, 2, 3, ABC. Let's follow,
That's
right?
right.
Let's follow up.
That's
But
right.
yeah, again, it's something that you enjoy and you love and you have a passion for, right? So that's not difficult to do. Again, it's just walk them through sometimes. If it was something arduous that you don't want to do, you probably feel a different way. But again, I think once you have, like I said, a passion, you want it, this is what you do, you get over those little bumps. That's nothing.
That's right.
Right. But
Yes.
yeah, again, you've kind of shown us kind of your passions, your successes in the industry, right? Where has been some pain points that you've experienced, right? Some growing pains, some struggles that people can relate to and be like, wow, how did I overcome that, man? How did I get here? Right? These things that kind of happen, right? In this yo-yo, right? Effect that we all kind of have.
That's also a really good question. So I think it's interesting because when I came into Sub 2, I was coming out of a really hard time in my life, which my husband and I both were. So very sort of hard, difficult, traumatic time with our middle daughter. And actually, so when we came into Sub 2, she was still in the throes of it. And it was just really hard. So it was the focus on coming into this creative real estate space really was more about, I've got to do something with my brain besides worry and think about hard, sad things. And so I was trying to pour into almost like something that I knew I would love, but also a distraction in a way. So this entire community being what it is was truly like a happy accident for me. I knew I wanted to be in this space. My husband and I both did. But it was really such a gift that was born out of something that I needed for my soul. And so to say that, there were mistakes that happened, really it was more mindset for me. Coming into it, being in a really emotional space and just trying to strengthen myself. So I always say, the hardest thing for me has been in this time, self-mastery. So understanding how to control my emotions about things, because I had this like trauma brain almost.
Okay.
And learning that the networking and the conversations with people and trying not to feel like a FOMO or having to feel like people have to like me, or if I'm not keeping up with people, then I'm a failure. Like all of those imposter syndrome thoughts and feelings, that was the biggest component for me. And so I think my husband and I too, just we're similar in a lot of ways, and we're also very different in business in certain ways. So it was challenging to work with my spouse, both coming from like hard stuff with our daughter, and then processing it and healing from it and starting this business together was sort of, it was a lot. It was a lot. So the drinking from the fire hose of Sub 2 in general, and then processing it while trying to heal, was a lot. And there are still times when I have to reel in my negative thoughts. Like, what are you doing? Do you even know what you're doing? Um, you know, everyone seems to have this great angle on this or this business acumen that you don't have. I mean, you were an actress for 30 years. Like, what are you offering of value? I mean, really questioning myself.
Sure.
So I'm trying really hard not to let myself be there. I'm getting better and better and better at it. But I think mindset is huge in
And
this space.
you go through these things, and since you've been kind of challenged, right? How do you get over it, right? Like, what is it that
Mhm.
grounds you to tell you, it's all in my head, basically, right? It's kind of an illusion that I created, right? How do you overcome that, right? On a day-to-day basis, right? When it creeps in, and sometimes you might, might fall victim to it, right? And be like, how
Mhm.
do I, repair myself? How do I trick myself out of this? Let's say.
Yeah. I find that this community has really turned me on to, I mean, Pace especially, just bringing in different people who speak on their stories. They talk about their journeys, going on to Zooms and listening to other people who have started businesses that have faced massive challenges, who've come out of it and created and just believed in themselves. So I try to fill part of every morning with listening to a podcast or a audiobook. And I really take a lot of my cues from the people that are doing the things that I want to do, which is what we are all told. If you want to, if you have a goal, if you have some lighthouse that you're aiming towards, you need to follow in the steps of those who've gone before you. And that's what I do. I just constantly fill my head instead of watching the very depressing news. I try to listen every morning to podcasts and things like that. And then I will sometimes leave audible messages for myself or make notes on things. Not always great with actually even going back and listening to them or reading them, but I don't know that that's necessarily something that you have to do. I think just putting it on paper and thinking something and then writing it down, or thinking something and then saying it out loud that is positive, can do can help a lot. So that's how I overcome it. And I try to surround myself with people who are filling my bucket and inspiring me. I know it sounds very sort of common sense and not particularly magical, but that works for me. I just need to be around people who are creating, and knowing that it's never too late
That's
to
right.
create the life that you want to have. Never, ever. There are people in this community older than me, and there are a lot of people younger than me, and that's okay.
Yes. Again, all this is always, I probably say in every podcast, it's a journey of self-discovery to real estate, right?
Yeah,
It just happens to be the instrument that we're in, the sector that we, right? But it's
yeah,
all, again, how you manage yourself, how you grow, how you kind of figure yourself out, how you move forward in a positive way and not be distracted as well, with, and that could be so distracting as well. And how you kind of keep the main thing, right? So
uh-huh.
again, it's always sharpening that sword. That mindset for me is like a knife. You always have to keep it sharp, right? Because it can get dull
Yeah,
on you, and then it's not working. It's not functioning. Bringing some culinary skills into the equation. But right, so I kind of see it as a knife. You kind of have to sharpen that sucker up, right? And get that be sharp and tight, so those precision cuts can be made, right? So
yeah,
again, you can kind of figure out how it works for you, right? So, right, how you trick yourself into failing forward, right? Because we all
yes,
say we all go through it. I'm very mindful of that. I spend Sundays, for me, it's like a mindset for me. So I really
mhm,
stay focused in it, and be positive, affirmations as well. Just listen. Jamil Damji has Mindset Sundays that he does at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but he's in the West Coast. So I'm intentional to be in those calls as well because he just sets that mood always. Again, and you kind of always have to work on these things, right? Just to again keep the wheels, the wheels spinning around, right? So get bogged down with every day, every day, right?
Yep.
But I'm glad you share that. I'm glad that hopefully everything's with your family as well. And again,
Thank
the
you.
journey continues, right? The journey never stops. There's no quit and no ending until it's done. Let's say, but we're not done yet, right? So,
Yeah.
so now that we went, now let's climb up what I say Mount Everest. What this space, the real estate sector, where do you see yourself going? What's your vision? What have you cast for yourself, and how you gonna reach there?
So I do have a Mount Everest that is very large, but I like to talk about the things that we're doing now to become the people that can actually climb to the top. And I think this was a really interesting exercise that Pace had us do around creating the Mount Everest because it is very large. And I knew even 6 months, 8 months ago, before he even brought this up, that it was something that I was called to do, and that I also was not the person that could navigate the mountain yet. So all of the things that we're doing now, that I'm participating in now, allow me to grow into that person. And one of those things that we're doing that we're super passionate about, and I know that this is a very popular hot topic, but co-living, affordable housing, and I like to call it elevated affordable housing because we're not talking Section 8. I think that's great, and there's plenty of people that do work for veterans and Section 8 housing and things like that. We are working in three different places. So one being, we are partners with a 120-year-old nonprofit here in Charleston that is a high barrier of entry, just meaning with homeless men, which means this: it's not a shelter, it's not a place for a bed and a hot shower and a hot meal. It is men who come off of the street and they say, you know what, I want something better for my life. I can't keep doing this. And they're committed. They are committed. And so there's an extensive intake done, and there's when I say high barrier of entry, there's a contract that they sign, and they go through levels. And so this particular 120-year-old, which is stunning, organization has been extremely successful, obviously. And they put these men through a leveled growth program. And they have a waiting list of about 50 people. So these men, and I mean, it's always obviously a moving target because they have full beds, and then they move them on to the next thing and the next thing. But these men who come in off the street, they'll come in and say, I'm ready. And they'll say, we don't have a bed, but please keep coming back. So it's a timing thing. It's a consistency thing. By the time they finally get in there, they have shown that they're ready, right? Even in that little pre-program lesson of just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. So they need beds, and we are partnering with them to try to find beds in the Charleston area. Of course, it has to be once the men would come to us, they are paying rent, they have jobs, they have checking accounts and savings accounts. And it's just a way for them to get out from under like the building that is provided and go out on their own in a separate space and continue to fold back into normal life. So we're doing that, and they're also opening because now they have obviously a multitude of decades of proof of concept. So now they're wanting to do this for women. And we are thrilled to be a part of that as well. So the other co-living, and that's not really co-living, that's more affordable housing, program housing. The other space we're doing is elevated affordable living for young professionals. These young people come out of college and they've got debt and they might get a job somewhere and they think, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't even know if I'm going to like this job, but they take the job. They don't want to sign a lease for a year somewhere expensive. Maybe they don't want to live in over someone's garage, right?
Yep.
But they want something that is in a safe neighborhood and in a decent, like they want to feel like I worked really hard for 4 years or 8 years or 6 years or however long they were in school. And I want to live somewhere where I can, maybe they just bike to work. Maybe they ride up, take a cab, Uber, whatever, or walk, but they want to feel like they've leveled up, they're an adult and they're adulting. And so, but they, you can't afford, not everyone can afford $2,000 a month. And they don't want to find a roommate. That's complicated, right? There's an extra level. So we're trying to eliminate the idea of a stressful post-collegiate thing. And there are large cities and medium cities and small-ish cities where these young people, we want them to move here because that's the pulse of the city that exists, right? So we all, at my age, your age, we all want to go out to dinner. We want to go to a movie. We want to go do this or that. Well, who is it that is working in these jobs?
Yes.
They have to be able to, we want them to live where they work. We want them to be happy workers, at least in this stage of their life. I did it. I waited tables. And we've got to keep these people coming into our towns and cities, working as veterinary assistants, PAs, whatever it is. If they can't afford to live where they work, we're not going to have, these cities are not going to stay vibrant, right?
Yeah, that everyday workforce, right? That workforce community, right? Those 9-to-5ers that make it go. And those are the ones that are being kind of boxed out through inflation, through high rents, whatever, low salaries, right? And that's kind of the people that are that we're failing as a country, let's say, right? We're kind of, these are people are really struggling, right? So I love how you've adapted to be able to serve these people in these spaces, right?
Yeah, we have to look. I'm all for investing in things that make money. But the reality is, if we don't help the younger people who are coming out, who've put in the work, who want to invest in themselves and their lives, if we don't help them with affordability, their mental health is not going to help them either. They're going to be stressed out of their minds, and our society is stressful enough, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so,
obviously, you've been around the block a little bit. You can see the difference. You can see how society kind of has transformed, right? Just I can remember 25 years ago, the cost of living, right? You could buy a car, you could afford an apartment. Let's say, in New York City, it was manageable and it felt fair. It felt like you could get along and move forward. As time has passed by, you just see I look at the following generation. I'd be like, how they're gonna make it out here,
right.
Just because you have a perspective how it was, right? And just in 2 decades, I'd say 25 years, you see how where are they gonna live at? How are they gonna survive, right? So there's definitely a need to be filled there, and it's more of a mission, right? It's obviously it's a mission with intent. Obviously, you have to make income, right? You want to survive as well. You have to make a living as well. But like I said, it's kind of a mission, right? That we kind of the people have to, especially in the real estate sector, have to fill that gap, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. I think the private sector is always going to do it better than the government. So we can't wait for them to do anything.
Never. Yeah, I
Never.
guess, like I said, that's why I said we the people are kind of the saviors. We have to save ourselves, I believe, right? So,
Yes.
being in an extraordinary community like ours, right? I think we're in the right place to be able to make some of these things happen,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yes.
And I think led by Pace, who cast his vision, and then we set the culture in our community. I think we're in the right position to be able to serve different communities around the country, right? Because there's kind of so many of us now. So,
Absolutely.
right, and so very intentful in this space. So, people, should have some hope that we're going to make some changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the amazing thing, as I mentioned before, is that the backgrounds of so many of us are, I mean, they're just vastly different. And it makes building these micro, I want to call them micro businesses, right? Because I'm pulling from you, you're pulling from me. We get two other people and we're creating something here. And then simultaneously, you might be over here working on something, and I might be over here working on something also equally important. And it's genius.
Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to express yourself and what you're going to be doing, how you're going to position yourself to add value as well into this space. And this is God work I see you doing, right? So, Bree, thank you so much for sharing your story. I
You're
appreciate for you
welcome.
coming on. Birdie, would you like to share your social media, your handles, so people can follow you
Yes.
as well?
Yes, please. Birdie.Nicksic, which is Nicksic for Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I would love to chat with anybody who's got questions about design, fix and flipping, or just investing in creative real estate in general.
So reach out to Birdie, guys. She's going to be a wonderful asset to your business. And again, soon come the Bird House podcast will be launching
That's
soon.
right.
So watch out for that. She has a beautiful sign. So soon the lights will be on.
That's
So
right.
we'll be waiting on you for that. Again, Birdie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Real Estate Deli, and we see you soon.
Thanks, Mando. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.